Would you trust string spokes on your wheel set? For the past 6 months, I've had the wonderful privilege of writing and reviewing these Atomik Chubby wheel sets with Berd spokes. They're not string like you're thinking about string, but they're not metal spokes either, and they're not carbon fiber spokes. They use a really unique material that offers a really unique ride feel. But before I talk about how they ride, let's learn a bit more about the technology. This is a 27.5 Plus wheel set. It uses the Atomik Chubby rim. They call it the 43, which is the outer diameter. I call it the 36i because it's a 36 inner width. So it's meant for plus tires. That said, around 36i, I prefer a 2.6 tire usually, so that's what I've got on here right now. It's got i9 1-to-1 hubs, which are great hubs that are less expensive than Hydra's, but still fantastic. The rim features a really nice rim profile. It reminds me a lot of my favorite Stan's rims. It's a hookless bead, it's just a vertical wall on the sides, and it's got a foam core in it, kind of like Spank's VibraCore technology, but actually quite different. I think Spank inserts the foam after the fact, but with Atomiks, they start with a foam base and then wrap it in carbon. So it's kind of like a double wall rim, and it's kind of like a single wall rim. If you think of the foam with the carbon around it as one piece, it's like a single wall rim. There's no second channel where spoke nipples have a hole that go in. It's more like my Zip 30 Motos where the spokes poke through and you need to tape those. But if you think of it like carbon wrapped around foam, it's kind of like a double wall rim because there's the bottom and then the top to it. So it's really unique. It also has a super low profile bead, which I love. I have not hit it yet on any rocks, which is super unique out here in Sedona. They told me, go ahead, ride it as hard as you want. We want to see if you can break them. I haven't been able to break them, and I have not been taking it easy on these wheels. So I'm totally sold on their rim profile. And I think that foam does do something to deaden it. However, there's so much unique technology in this wheel, I'm not sure what I'm feeling, if it's the spokes, or that foam, or the carbon layup. And so more testing is needed to know what's doing what, but there are some really special things going on here. You can order Atomik wheels with traditional steel spokes or with the Berd spoke upgrade. And when I talked to them, they said, you gotta try the Berd spoke upgrade. It's totally unique, and they were right. These are tied onto the hub like a string. There's no head to these. They're tied on, they're woven on, as you can see. On this side, we have a nipple with about 1.5 inch long metal spoke. And these Berd spokes act like a finger trap, and they grab that little tiny spoke, and the more tension you put on them, the stronger they grab. Really cool technology. If you've ever had a wheel built and you take the spokes to your wheel builder and hand him 32 spokes, you'd be amazed at how much 32 spokes weigh. Even with the light Sapine bladed spokes, it's a significant weight to your wheel set. And because wheels are rotating, you feel that rotational weight far more than you'd feel an extra pound in your water bottle or on your frame. So people have been trying to make wheels light while keeping them strong for years. And this is the lightest spoke on the market. These spokes are made of ultra high molecular weight polyethylene, UHMWPE. It's the same stuff that bulletproof vests are made out of. If you're familiar with the ultralight material Cuban fiber, or Dyneema is the name brand of this, it's the same exact stuff. I've been using it in my shelters, my tarps, my backpacks for bike packing and backpacking for years, and it truly is a space age wonder material. This material has 12 times the strength to weight ratio of steel. And I know what you're thinking. That's crazy to run string spokes on your wheel. And I thought the same thing when I got them. But I have abused these things. I've ridden them extremely hard. I've had sticks in them. I've had zero issues. And not only is it lighter and stronger than steel, but it has a different ride feel. It has a vibration damping characteristic to it. Now, I've heard that a lot about a lot of wheels that people send me, but this is truly noticeable. It's unlike any other wheel set I've run. Now, like all things super light and super strong, it is not super cheap. It's expensive, and it's a very labor-intensive process to build these up, so you gotta pay to play. You have to hand polish your hub, so there are no burrs that could cut this. And it's really interesting. When you build these, you have to tension them, and then the next day they're down to like 50% tension. And then you have to tension them again, then they're down to 70% tension. And then you tension them again, and it's a rigorous process to tension these properly. And because of that, it's time intensive. The guys at Atomik have created their own tool to speed up the process of tensioning these wheels and building them. They've got a whole video about it on their website. I'll link it here. But you can rest assured that by the time you receive the wheels, they will be properly tensioned and you won't have to worry about them detensioning and you won't have to do anything. I haven't touched these wheels in hundreds of miles and they're as true as the day I got them. It is incredible how truly set and forget these are. Usually when you go with exotic materials, you have to baby them and take extra care of them, and there's all these little niggles that you have to watch out for so things don't get messed up. These I've ridden just like every other wheel set I've ever had. I just put them on the bike and rode it, and it's amazing what these things feel like. Okay, that's enough about the tech details. Let's head over to the ride review. We are running a 27.5 by 3.0 high roller up front. Normally I wouldn't run a 3.0 on a 35 mil rim. I really like 45i for a big 3.0, and I like 3.0s. If I'm gonna run plus, I wanna run big plus tires. In the back we have a Specialized Purgatory Grid 3.0, and there's barely maybe 2 millimeters of clearance on each side. But that is gonna help because we're gonna know if the wheel flexes enough to rub the tire on those chainstays as we corner. Atomik claims that these are a really soft wheel, and they're right. These are nowhere near as stiff as something like the Santa Cruz Reserve wheel set. Oh, those were so stiff. I probably had these on 20 rides now in many different tire setups and with different bikes. This is my favorite tire setup so far. I feel like they really come alive with the heavier casing tires. The lighter casing tires just have a weird reboundy feel. I'm super sad Maxxis has discontinued the high roller to 3.0. Tons of grip. What a comfortable ride. I'm impressed. These are up there with my Night Composites wheels. Although these feel lighter because of those Berd spokes. When you have 32 spokes front and rear, you don't realize how much those weigh. So you hold them in your hand for a wheel build, and then you're like, wow, spokes, even light spokes, weigh quite a bit. Man, these are great little wheels. I don't know what's contributing to the ride feel, if it's kind of their single ply style rim, if it's the foam insert, or maybe it's the carbon layup, or maybe it's those Berd spokes. I really don't know. I'd love to do a back-to-back test with Atomik's wheels with metal spokes, and then the same wheel set with Berd spokes. Then I'd know what was attributed to the spokes and what was the rim design. And ideally I'd do that on a non-plus rim to get a little more consistency on tire feel. Oh, so much control. It's fun having that much grip. You almost get a little bit of suspension feel out of plus tires too. I love the rim profile of these too. Haven't had a single rim strike in hundreds of miles on these things. Man, they spin up fast. You really notice that lightweight. That is so cool. There's a little bit of an extra rebound in these wheels that I've never felt in another wheel. It's like they have a faster rebound with less damping than a traditional wheel. Really interesting. And that rebound feel seems to change based on which bike I'm on and which tires I'm running. Oh, what a fun wheel set. One of the greatest things you can do to make your bike feel different is to get a good wheel set. Oh, these are fantastic. These aren't cheap. These are just over $2,100. That's up there with the Night Composites I've got and my Zip 30 Motos. These are special though. They do something that other wheels don't, and I love that. Not just a copy of someone else's design. The ride feel is great. I wish they were wider. I really like a 45i on my plus wheels, especially 3.0s. 35i, when we're talking inner width, just isn't quite enough for a 3.0 in my mind. So the tires get a little bit of a squatty, kind of squished out shape on them. Boy, these would be great for like a 2.6. Man, they just accelerate so quick. It doesn't feel like I'm on big, heavy 3.0 plus tires. And that's one of the biggest complaints with plus tires, is how heavy they are. But if you can run a lighter wheel set like this, that really helps them come alive. And I don't just pick the easy lines because I'm on carbon wheels. The rim profile is awesome with how low profile it is. That means I worry far less about rim strikes or cracking the rim. And I've run some serious low pressure on these. Right now I'm at about 14 PSI front and rear. I get a tiny bit of squirm that I think would be gone if I had 45i rims. Oh, this is such a joy. So fun. Woo! A light wheel set just makes your bike come alive. Wow. I'll take a light wheel set on a great aluminum frame like this Banshee over a mediocre wheel set on a carbon frame any day. Wow. That's fun. And I've had zero issues with the spokes, and I completely trust them to be as strong as a regular spoke. All right, let's talk about how these ride. These do ride different than any other wheel set that I've ridden before. They're extremely light, and you feel that rotational weight, or lack thereof, I should say, when you just sprint on it and get up to speed. They want to accelerate fast. I'm attributing a lot of that to the Berd spokes because these have got to weigh less than metal. Really cool design with the way the finger trap works in there. It's like the nipple's this long, and the fabric, as you tension it, it tightens even harder on the nipple side, or short spoke, whatever you want to call that. So upgrading to Berd spokes is a significant cost. But with any cutting edge technology, usually we see that trickle down over time as they find more efficient ways to do it and cheaper ways to do it. I really trust this material, this Dyneema. I use it in my bike packing gear, I use it in my backpacking gear, in my shelters. It's proven to be extremely durable when you take care of it. And what's really surprised me is how these have stayed white throughout the ride. Almost nothing stays white in Sedona. We've got all this red dirt, and these still look really nice. You can get black coated ones, but I've heard the white coated ones are a little bit more durable, a little bit more reliable. There are so many unique aspects to this wheel set that I don't know which variables are contributing to the ride feel that I'm feeling. The rim acts like a single wall rim. The spoke nipples actually poke through. There's not a second wall in there like a normal rim. So it reminds me a lot of my Zips in that way. And I wonder if it flexes a little more because of that design in a good way. I never once felt the tires buzz the chainstay, even though I only had 2 mil of clearance on each side. It was just fine. So it's laterally stiff, which is what we want. And the wheel doesn't feel noodly. So when you pump hard into corners, you don't feel the wheel fold. You do feel the lack of width on a 3.0 tire where the tire will squirm a little bit, but that doesn't translate to rubbing on the frame or side flex in the wheel. So if I could make a couple changes, I'd make the rim wider at 40 internal, or 45 would be ideal for me. I don't know how that would do with this design, but it'd be fun to experiment with because 35i isn't quite as wide as I like for a plus wheel set. The best way to describe these rims is like a tennis racket. If you've ever picked up a super high-end tennis racket, you pick it up and you're just like, whoa, that thing is super light. And then you hit the racket on your hand, because that's what we all do for some weird reason, and you feel that rebound. These wheels, more than any wheel I've ever ridden, have their own rebound characteristics. And in some tire and bike combinations, it's more pronounced than others. But when I've run these on my full suspension, I have to slow down my rebound 1 or 2 clicks because the wheels actually rebound faster than other wheels that I'm used to. And I've experimented a lot with different tire pressures, different tire models, different casings, and these are more finicky with tire pressure and tire casing than other wheels that I've ridden. In fact, it wasn't till now when I put these big, heavier, meatier 3.0s on that I feel like the wheels really came into their own. With the lighter, more XC or lower tread pattern or 2.8 narrower grip tires, they were rebounding even more, and I could feel that, and it was really interesting. I had to slow down the rebound on my fork. It just kind of bounced off the terrain instead of tracked it. And I could play with pressures and get different feels, and I'm real comfortable at getting different tire feels and rebound characteristics out of the tire at different pressures with inserts and all that, but I've never had that with a wheel, and it was really interesting. But in this setup, I don't feel the rebound so much. It's maybe a 5% difference. But on some of the other setups, it felt like a 20% difference to me. And at first I thought I was crazy. I was just riding them thinking, man, I'm just deflecting off of everything, but I'm at 15 PSI. What's going on? And as I swapped different tires and put them on different frames, I could feel that change throughout them. So that's something I definitely feel, and it's worth noticing because I've never felt that in another wheel. So these wheels are unique. They're very special. They ride unlike any other wheel set I've ever ridden. They have really good vertical compliance, so I don't feel like I'm slamming into anything. In fact, I've hit some really hard curbs that would have hurt other carbon rims, and these took it all in stride. I don't know if the wheel's flexing. I don't know if it's deflecting like my Zips, but it's a soft hit, and I've never once bottomed out on the rim. The rim profile is fantastic. One thing I don't like about these rims, it's really hard to seat a tire. It's the hardest rim to seat a tire I've ever had. And the tires don't want to do that last little pop onto the bead either. Once you finally get them holding air, it takes a good 40 PSI to push them out to that bead. I even had to run soap in all the beads on every side. It was a lot of work to get them to seat. I've never had them burp on me, so once they're seated, they seem to stay there. I'm not running inserts in them. It's just tire and air and orange seal sealant. There was nothing funky going on with the braking or didn't feel like the wheel would wind up. It felt more like a normal wheel than not. It just felt really smooth and really compliant, and it's been really robust in the rocky, chunky terrain that we've had. It's taken me many, many months to come up with this review because every time I ride it, they seem to feel a little bit different. But I've settled on a tire pressure and a tire compound, and I've had these wheels for about 6 months now, and I put a lot of miles on them, but it took a lot of testing and tweaking to get them to the point where I feel like I've got them dialed just right to where I'm not feeling that rebound characteristic, and I'm really maximizing what they were meant to do. So if you do get a set of these, experiment, try different tires. I know that's expensive. You know, these tires are 60 to 100 bucks a pop. It's not cheap, but I really made these wheels come alive in this setup. So what I'd really like to do is compare 2 sets of Atomik wheels, one with the aluminum spokes and one with the Berd spokes. All other things being equal, same tires, same pressures, same everything. And then I can compare back to back to see what's the feel of their rim and wheel and what's the feel of the Berd spokes and how they interact. And I think doing that on a 29er wheel set makes more sense than a plus tire wheel set, especially when we're running 3.0s on a 35i rim. So there you have it, a whole bunch of information and my thoughts on this really unique wheel set. I'm super grateful for Atomik for sending these in. They've been really fun to test. I can't believe how light they are. They are truly light, and you feel that lack of rotation weight when you just stand up and sprint. It just picks up speed and accelerates so well. Combine that with the compliant ride quality, it really is something special. And these are up there with my Knight Composites Plus wheels. They're up there with my Zip 30 Motos as some of the most compliant and exciting and lively wheels that I've ridden. I really want to get to the bottom of what's causing this reboundy feel and see if I can tune that out even more, and I'd love to try it in a non-plus setup. That said, it's been a really fun experiment. I just think there's too many new variables here for me to be able to tell you which are causing the ride feel that I'm feeling. Anyway, it's been fun to get experimental on this. Thanks for watching. There's a party in the mountains, and you're invited.